Yeah, just ignore this after a while.
Of course.
Okay, great. Um, so yeah, let's start with maybe just the broader context of just who you are. Like, what's your story? What drives you? What makes you come here in the morning and get excited and things like that?
Oh,
Yeah.
well, my history with Trinity is quite broad. I was living in Rome, Italy, and my sister got sick, so I had to come back here to help take care of her. She had it wasn't terminal, but it was a very serious illness. And so I went back from Rome to come here, in Wethersfield actually, to make sure that she was all right and everything like that. So out of all the siblings, I came back for her. And one thing led to another. I said, since I'm here already, I might as well find a job. So I was reading the papers and talk about when your one door closes and another door happens to be opened, and that's what happened to me.
Nice.
So I was reading the newspaper, the local newspaper. I think it was the Hartford Courant, and I saw an ad for Cinestudio that the movie was going to be showing was one of my favorites, Rebecca, which is Alfred Hitchcock. So I said, wow, where's this playing? And who plays old movies? And that's my discovery of Trinity.
Wow.
I came to campus and I've just lived in Wethersfield, and I thought, why have I not seen this campus before? And due to that classic film, which I'm interested in, I ended up studying film here too. So I applied for a job, a community service job, and I got it with Joe Barber. And so I stayed there, and what had happened was that one thing led to another. I knew the dean. The dean recommended me for this job, and I said, I have no experience in student activities whatsoever. Oh, you can do this. I'll write a letter, and. And so anyway, I got the job after I graduated from Trinity Graduate Studies. I got my degree, and one thing led to another again, and I got this job, and that was back in 2011. And I've stayed ever since. And when you say what motivates me, the students motivate me.
Yeah.
I've always been a proponent for, okay, you help people, but also you help people by being a role model. And I wanted to be a role model. The dean said to me, okay, one of the jobs here is that you'll see the underbelly of the college. You'll see things that no one else sees. What happens after hours. And believe me, I've seen it all. And a lot of that's what educated me. I didn't have any experience. I don't know what these drugs are or anything like that. So I've never had experience with drugs, never had experience with just anything out of the ordinary in terms of how people go to hospital. And part of the job, of course, is my going to the hospital and tending to the students who have either injured themselves or have gotten drunk, overdosed on something, whatever the problem is. So yes, and my inspiration also comes from the students. I try to be a role model to them, but they, for me, are role models for me as well. I've experienced students who handle not only a full load, but they're also resident, they work for Rest Life, they're RAs, and they handle things that staff would handle. And I really just am amazed by the way they organize themselves. They're involved in not only their full load of school, but their activities, clubs, organizations. So it works both ways.
Great.
I'm a role model for them, and they're a role model for me.
Yeah, that reminds me of being a parent and how my children are watching what I do versus what I say.
Oh yeah.
So leading by example.
Oh my gosh,
makes
yes.
a lot of
It's
sense
very
to me.
important to lead, not only by what you say, but what you do.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you said a lot there. Could you describe the function that you're in, the area you're responsible for?
Oh, okay.
And like who's part of the team, maybe who you report to, just a little bit of that context as well.
Well, we've had several directors since I've been here. The current director is Nakia Bryant. We are called Student Activities, Involvement, and Leadership. or SAIL, SAIL. And the important part of this department is that we changed from merely Office of Campus Life to student activities to SAIL. And the important part is that L word, which is leadership. We incorporated leadership into our name. Nikia Bryant, as I said, is the director, the current director. Sarah Lucas is the other assistant director. I'm the second one. And then an accounts manager, which is Julie Graves. So we're a team of 4. And what I do is, as part of being one of the 2 assistant directors, is to help guide people, students who want to form new clubs. My specific duties is that they currently are filtered through me, and I guide them along as to how to become a new club on campus, the proper paperwork. We even do, how do you say this, play acting in terms of how do I present to the SGA to make sure that I get, approved as a club. We do that role acting, yes.
And who's the SGA?
Oh, I'm sorry, Student Government Association. So
Okay.
they're involved in interviewing or taking presentations of potentially new clubs on campus who would like to be officially recognized by the SGA. And so they go through a lot of steps, a couple of steps, several steps.
Got it.
Become.
What's the overall payload or club load that you manage?
Well, right now we hover around 140, more or less. And that number sometimes decreases, sometimes increases, because a lot of clubs put themselves in frozen status. If they don't do their parts, then we have to remove them from active status. And so maybe 140, more or less. And that's the payload.
Okay. And what is that like today to handle? Is that a lot, just right?
Yes, we divvy the clubs up amongst the 3 of us, which is Sarah, who is the other assistant director, and Nikia, the director, also has several. So I'm involved with mostly the performing clubs, dance, a cappella groups. I co-advise the SGA along with Nikia. I also delve into community service, religious life, that sort of thing. The community service and religious life have their own, the steps sort of change. They are now receive guidance from other administrators, but I'm at the background if those administrators ever need help for those clubs. I do that too. Okay.
And is there a particular club or area that could use some help? Is it like late night programming, or is there?
Well, we do specialize in late night programming. In fact, that's one of the challenges that the deans, prior to the current board of deans right now, had challenged us several years ago. That's why our name changed from just Office of Campus Life to an entity that deals with leadership or promotes leadership. So I like to call ourselves purveyors of leadership. That role modeling thing, the example of that, to act and say things that would be, conducive to a good leader for the students. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah. What? So, how is that late night programming going?
The late night programming, yes. So, we are strategizing all the time to see what students like. We take polls, we take surveys, and what works or what has worked in the past are bingo games, karaoke, and right now line dancing. So we try to incorporate fun, that element of fun into late night programming, especially if some students have something to take away from that, such as those prizes, oh my goodness, they're all for it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen an increase with trivia is a mainstay as well. Every Thursday, Sarah heads that at the Vernon Social. Anything that is challenging for them, that gets them together with a whole bunch of people, and then to take something away from that, meaning the prizes, that's always a draw.
Yep. What's not working that well or efficient for you?
Not working. Well, we're always working by trial and error. So if we find that something isn't working, then we stray away from that. Right now, we're trying to incorporate bigger games. Well, we have games, companies that provide, say, I don't know what you call Cash Cube, where they go into cubes and then grab cash, and we incorporate trivia into that. So whoever wins the trivia gets to go to the cash cube. But if I guess we say that something's failing if there are not enough attendees or students don't gravitate towards an event. But in our experimentations with these late night games, we're going to give it time, because it doesn't catch on so quickly as bingo does, or karaoke, or trivia, but we're going to give it time, and time will only tell whether these games will be successful.
Yeah. Okay. I like to break out a particular tool and have you run through it. The tool is called a journey map.
All right.
And all it is a diagram that goes through time on a particular experience that you have. And I'd love for you to just describe what the steps are for that experience, whatever words you call it. And then how do you personally feel during those steps? So let's have the context be late night programming, and maybe bring up an experience where maybe you did the trial and error and it was a bit challenging or not what you expected, something you wish it went better at. Can you think of a particular event that was very memorable and challenging?
Memorable in a challenging sort of way?
Yeah.
We always, in my personal experience, I have challenges with artsy sort of things, artsy craftsy.
Yeah.
Although those are some of the most enjoyable, I think, to both to conduct and to participate in, because there's a lot of pressure for students in terms of upholding their grades. There's full courses, a study load, and we like to incorporate very relaxing activities to help them balance. In fact, I'm working with the health center with an administrator who's such a fantastic person to work with, Geraldine Gerard. And we come up with these, she comes up mostly with bantams and balance activities. And they're artsy craftsy things, pumpkin decorating, gingerbread making, house gingerbread men, things like that, decorating, cupcakes, things like that. And we're trying to incorporate friendship bracelets and, artsy craftsy things. So that's a challenge, because it's not, when I say challenge, I say that many students don't participate in that as much as perhaps a bingo game where they could have prizes. You know? But that's something we're working on, though, in terms of those. Okay.
Can you think of the last one that you tried that you didn't have the attendance you expected or hoped for?
So it's a hit and miss many times, and the gingerbread making, the house making is usually very successful, but you also run into challenges such as, are the students on campus? Is there another activity that they gravitate towards? So a lot of times we compete against, mainstay activities that students like.
So you have competition on the campus.
Of course, there's always competition.
Who's your biggest competitor? What event is the biggest competitor?
Let me see. Outside of SAIL, I would say, I don't know if you know about this I don't even know what it's called, but it's a trip where students go off campus on a big bus, and it's a sort of like a big social off campus, and there's drinking involved, of course. So we compete with events that involve drinking.
Mm.
Um, Not to say that it's bad, but people pick and choose what they want to do. And if we're up against an event that's sanctioned and involves drinking, then at least we have ours as alternate activities, whereby people who don't want to drink can come to our activities and
Yeah.
hopefully take something away from that, meaning the prizes.
Right. Okay.
It's been all smiles for me, by the way.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
really,
fine.
I'm not, I don't get down a lot. No. Not
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all.
that's
I
great.
just, yeah.
It's fine, and it's just a tool to understand how you think in a particular area, and feel, and if it's all positive, that's great. There's no
Yeah.
wrong answer. It's you and how you're feeling. So, can you walk us through the steps to create an event, say that competes with that social?
Sure.
What are some of the steps just to get an event to life?
All right.
Yep.
First of all, we discussed it amongst ourselves, the staff, and then we poll students, we survey students, and we talk to students. And whatever ideas, we always say, come to us if you have a new idea about programming. Come to us, and we'll help make it to fruition. So, all those factors.
Yep.
Discussing as a staff, putting it out to students, and the feedbacks that we get, then we decide, oh, let's try this. So it's always an experiment. And many times it's probably a happy accident that, oh, we didn't know this activity would be so successful, such as bingo.
Yeah.
Because the first time that we did bingo, I remember people saying, what's bingo? And then other students were saying, oh, that's what old people play in churches, But then, as a result, once they get into it, especially internationals, they don't know, American bingo, what's that? So it's always so interesting about the reactions from people. But also the domestic students, they say, now I know why old people like to do this, and it's been a success ever since.
Yep. What was the last program that you got student feedback from? And that sound like the second step is student feedback.
Student feedback,
Can,
yes.
Can you give me some specific feedback commentary?
Of course. For example, when we do our late nights, we incorporate food into it as well. So students not only get to play or participate in an activity, but we provide them with food by contracting with Chartwells or Trinity Dining Services to provide food.
Yeah.
The feedback that we get is, wow, we can have this and then eat too. That's amazing. So, and that's really a strategy too, because if people are drinking, they can have something to eat to help counter the effects of alcohol.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so the feedback has generally been very positive, very positive.
Yeah.
And to the point whereby if I don't advertise it early enough, they come to the door and say, is this event going to happen?
Yeah.
It's really a joy. Yeah.
Nice.
A joy to see, to hear, and then to participate also in this late night programming. I see it for myself.
Okay, so you described the front end, which is to get one off the ground, and it's hit or miss, or happy accidents, things like that.
It is.
What's it like during the event? Like, what's your responsibility? Who's involved? How much pressure is there? Responsibility pressures, things like that.
I've always been more like a kid at heart, so I do participate in these late night events. Sometimes to the chagrin of my boss, she'll say, you don't have to do that, but it's so fun seeing people's reactions. And then I like to play jokes also and make jokes, and so if people are quiet and they're not really into it, I sort of go to them and then I tell a joke, and then we have laughing sessions. So and then it gets people to participate more in it. I like to participate because I want to put a face to the administrators who are actually conducting or maybe have made up these events. And so I like to put a face to our department to say that we're not only administrators, but we do actively get involved with the students.
Yeah.
And this is one way of doing it.
And why is that important to you?
It's important to me because if you're just a department and you just perform, within that box, well, you're perfunctory. It's just, well, this is what we do. But then if you get involved with students, you encourage them, you tell them, come, tell your friends about us, things like that. That's very important to me because it personalizes the department. And so students get to know, oh, yeah, we love SAIL,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very important to me.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Yes.
So let's see. If I was to give you a magic wand, what would you wish for? Maybe start with late night programming and then go out if you want to wherever you want to go. Yeah.
Well, if you were to give me a magic wand, I would say, of course, budget. Because we're always limited by a certain budget, and so I would conduct out of this world activities. When you have sort of like a bottomless pit of what you can spend on, I would like to incorporate more that maybe we can't afford right now. And then the other side of that wish for the students to be more not relying on their friends to attend either, because what I see here on campus, and it's a general attitude, is if I ask people to do something, like students to do something, indelibly they would say, oh, my friend doesn't want to do it, so I won't do it. And my wish is for that to disappear, that attitude to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things why I love participating in it, these late night events, to influence them that you don't need other people's opinions to do what you want to do. Whether that be going to the movies or participating in a certain activity by our department. If you want to go by yourself even, and then you can meet new friends, make new friends, whatever. But don't rely on the opinions of your friends.
I see.
To say, yeah.
So you see that as a barrier at times?
Oh yes, I do.
There's a
I
social
do.
element to
I do.
peer pressure, maybe?
Yes, in the past there's we made up this we mimicked an actual reality show called Dancing with the Stars. So it was dancing with the Trin Stars. And what it is we paired students with faculty and staff for a dance competition. And that was like pulling teeth actually when I went to not only students but to faculty and staff. People talk about community all the time. Let's do community stuff, community, but those are all words.
It's part of the mission statement even, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And if you say something, well, do it too. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm not good at it. No. And so that's a general attitude that I
Yep.
encounter.
When you say faculty or staff, where is that in the cycle of planning? Because you have an internal staff meeting, you then go and get feedback.
Correct.
Is some of that feedback faculty too?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
talking about staff and faculty outside of SAIL. A lot of times I hear, we should have this activity, we should have this activity. But then when you go to the people who are asking for those activities, they don't want to have anything to do with it. So
Yeah.
yes. So I say, put your money where your mouth is. If you say something, participate in it once in a while. Who knows? I
Right.
mean, people will get to know you outside of being a staff member or a faculty member. To see another side of you that they never see, which is the fun side, which is the community side, so
Right, yeah.
not just nominally, but personally.
Okay. So I'll have to give you a few magic wands.
Oh yes, I'll take them all.
I love it. So how do you know a program is successful or an activity? is successful? What are some of the metrics?
My goodness, definitely. If, as I said, if I don't advertise and they come knocking at the door, is this happening? Is this happening? That's a success.
Yep.
If you don't, for example, one time we were so busy that I forgot to put out. I'm going to use this again because it's the truth. The bingo night. Students usually know that it's on a Saturday, right? So, and it's once a month. So one time we were just so busy that I just inadvertently did not get to advertise it through an e-blast. People came knocking. Oh my goodness, you wouldn't believe it. And they would say, "It's bingo tonight, it's bingo tonight. Why didn't you put it out?" I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. But yes, and even though we did not advertise it that night, that particular night, you know, with their friends texting, "Come on, bingo's on," you know, things like that.
Yeah.
And the whole room, of course, was packed.
Nice.
And so that's how we know that these programs are successful.
Yeah.
When students come knocking at our doors.
Okay, proactively.
Yeah. Yes.
How about a new program, the chartering it the first time? How do you know that's successful?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked that because we did have a new program. It's line dancing. We have a vendor who teaches about 35 American line dances. Macarena, things like that. It's how do you say this? Electric slide?
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, the chicken.
You take me back in
everything
time.
like
The chicken, nice.
My goodness. And that was a one-time thing. And it was so successful that we've asked him to come back. And I think we want to incorporate this vendor, this performer, once a month now.
Yeah. What were some of the attributes, though, that you would say were successful?
For the line dance?
Yeah.
It's just the togetherness and the fun, the different kinds of music. You know, you've heard that food, music, arts are universal languages.
Yeah.
Yes, this is definitely music, and it's a universal language. It will draw more people, and it's a nice bonding thing where friends come and they really enjoy dancing. They enjoy the music. So yeah, that definitely was one of the successes.
Are you looking for signs of engagement, like laughter?
Definitely,
The amount of
always.
participation in dancing?
Oh my goodness. And at the final, they did the, I forgot what the dance was called. I think it was the Macarena, which was the final one.
Yeah.
The whole floor was just packed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were having fun. And
Yeah.
this is without any, drinks, without any substances or
Yeah.
anything like that. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. You mentioned budget as a constraint. What other rules do you have, or constraints, or initiatives that come your way? Just going to get I want to get a sense of like the kind of the management side of your function.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we open it to the whole Trinity community, and a lot of times, and this happens, the students will tell their professors, and professors actually come also to the activities.
Yeah.
And that's once in a while, but they do come. Staff come. I mean, there's family night, where there's family weekend. We have the families come. We have professors come and staff come. And what was your question?
Well, it was more around what are some business rules or university rules that you have to follow? Sounds like budget is one of them.
Of course we have.
Are there other?
Of course there's the temporal rules. Late night begins maybe at 8 or 9 o'clock, and it must end by 2 o'clock in the morning. That's a temporal obligation that we have. It's the rule of the college.
Yeah.
Of course, no outside food or drink, because if we use the facilities downstairs, which is catered to by Chartwells, we cannot have any other food but Chartwells.
Okay.
Which is good too, because we generate business for them, and they prepare the space for us, and so it's a symbiosis. We all benefit from it.
Okay.
So the time factor, we have to end by 2 if it's indoors.
Yep.
If it's outdoors, we have to end by 1 o'clock a.m. And then the food factor. If we use, for example, Vernon Social, we have to solicit the business of Steve's Bagels, which is housed therein.
Yeah.
And then here in downstairs, Chartwell's or Trinity Dining Services.
Mm-hmm. Any legal waivers or other documents that you have to consider?
For the vendors, yes, we have to have their COI, what they call COI or proof of liability insurance, especially with food trucks. For example, if we contract with food trucks, they have to provide us with their proof of liability insurance. If the food, if someone gets sick, at least they're covered.
Yep.
Their insurance covers it.
Okay. Could you describe? I guess you started with like going to the hospital.
Yes.
Was there a particular story? Can you just describe that a bit?
Of course.
Yeah.
There was part of my duties is to serve in the administrator on-call rotation, which is a 24-hour weekly rotation. And we share that with the staff of what used to be known as Residential Life. I can't even begin to tell you their new name. It's so long, but for the sake of argument, they do residential life business, right?
Yeah.
So we share those duties, and again, it's 24 hours. So we go there if a student injures himself, if the student gets drunk, if the student is involved in sort of like an illegal, or there's a better word for that, if they go against the policy of the college, whatever it is that they break the policies, and we visit them either in their dorms or if they're injured in the hospital. And are you asking me to describe one particular?
Yeah. I just wanted to understand that comment more.
All
yeah.
right. So campus safety, usually the steps are campus safety informs me about it because they're usually at the forefront of these incidences.
Right.
And I give kudos to campus safety because they don't receive a lot of the credit due them because they do work around the clock. Well, we think we work around the clock, but they do double, triple that, so I give kudos to them. So campus safety does inform us either through texting or an actual phone call. Sometimes it's even through email, and they inform us, all right, this student, this is the situation, and we recommend that you visit them or whatever. But
even if it's not a sale event?
Even if it's not a sale event, this is outside sale. Sale particularly is for activities, but as administrators on call, we do conduct business outside of the department.
Yeah.
So which involves the well-being, health and safety of the students.
Yeah.
So we work in conjunction with campus safety to make sure that student is at least tended to. And then we give our information to the hospital. We identify ourselves as the administrators on call, and depending on whether or not it's a case whereby the hospital decides we follow HIPAA laws, so no, we cannot allow you in to visit the students, because sometimes those are the barriers that we face as administrators on call. The hospital will say HIPAA laws, sorry, and it depends on who's there on staff that night.
Yep.
And more often than not, though, we do get to see the students personally. So we evaluate them. If they're unconscious, then we leave a card with the hospital administrator saying, please call us if there's a change or whatever. For the better or worse, call us, things like that.
Okay.
And then campus safety, maybe I inform them or we inform them the student's ready to be picked up, or the students will call campus safety directly, and then they follow up with the health center to do some sort of class about the responsibilities of their actions.
Okay.
Things like that.
Okay, great. So it's almost 2020. What are your say top 2 or 3 goals going into next year?
my number one goal, and I was asked this by the president when I first started, when she came in, what are your goals? And I said, I would love to make Trinity, or at least in the direction of an arts school, meaning where the arts flourish, where people can truly share their talents, because I think that's what's missing here. You know, when I mentioned before that people don't want to do things because their friends don't want to do it, it's a shame really, because this person might have a talent, but they don't want to show that talent because their friends won't do it.
Yeah, it's vulnerable. Yeah.
Yes. And so what I told the President Joanne Berger Sweeney, was that I would like to have a second renaissance on campus happen, that where the arts just flourish, where people showcase their talents, whether singing, dancing, performance arts, painting, whatever. And we're trying to incorporate that now through our activities, little by little. The arts, I mean. So Sarah does I cannot talk in letters, do it yourself, DIY, painting, things like that. And then the Underground Coffee House, which we also help run. They have solicited the help of student artists. Say, if you have a drawing or something like that, a painting, please, we'll exhibit it, things like that. So that's my top goal, to encourage the arts to flow on campus.
Yeah.
So that perhaps, maybe in my greatest fantasy, it won't be known as a party school, but an art school maybe.
Yeah. And what do you think would happen if that was true?
My goodness. As I said before, the arts are a universal language, so people can, bond and just flourish with the arts, and be more open to communicating with each other, because you have groups on campus, there's like, you're either known for some socioeconomic status or whatever, or a cultural status, whatever. So if that could, just meld.
Okay, so you see those operating as silos a bit, and not as
yes.
integrated as it could be.
Yes.
And a potential bridge could be this community
Those
building
bridges,
through the
yes,
culture or
yes.
arts.
So not just only say community, but to really work to build those bridges of community.
Nice. What's one thing that you'll do in the first quarter next year to help that, or experiment in that area?
Well, when I say put your money where your mouth is, and when you speak, make sure you are prepared to act. And I've been doing that already, I think, because, for example, this international students come to me and say, can you perform at our show? And I say, oh my gosh.
Meaning you?
Yes. So, of course, I'm not one to just go up on stage and then just do my thing. No. I do get nervous too, but guess what? I have volunteered, let's just say, to perform on stage for a lot of these shows that occur on stage. And I do put myself out there. I do show my vulnerabilities. But then that's how to be an example. That's how to be really, personally, an example to other people. And so I want people to say, oh my gosh, he's doing it without, his friends around him.
Without a net. Yeah, that's great. So I want to thank you for your time and sharing all of that.
Oh,
it's
you're
going to be a
very
big help
welcome.
for
It
our
was my
project.
pleasure.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.